Welcome to the Arbortext Monster Garage. I'm Liz Fraley. I'll be your moderator today. With Arbortext in your tool chest, you can do anything. Today we're excited to bring you a clever bit of code written by well-known shop coach Clay Helberg from TerraXML. Clay's been working with XML and XSL since 2000 and Arbortext since 2002. He provides consulting and development services on a wide variety of projects, and he's a regular presenter at the Arbortext user group meetings at many of PTC World User events. He's coming to us live from Duluth, Minnesota, and we're excited to have him with us. I'll turn the presentation over to today's shop coach, Clay Helberg. Clay, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Liz. I love that. Coming live from Duluth, Minnesota. So here I am. So what I'm going to talk about is some cool little customizations that are quick and easy, and I think give a lot of bang for the buck with an Arbortext product called Digital Media Publisher. So if there's anyone who's not familiar with this, I'll just give a brief overview of what it is. It's a publishing system that lets you take content that you've published from Arbortext, but also you can also incorporate content that comes from other sources. So you can incorporate Word documents, you can incorporate HTML documents, you can incorporate PDF documents that come from any source, either Arbortext Publishing Engine or whatever other systems your company uses to produce PDFs. You can take a whole set of content and you can package it up and index it and build something that you can deploy to a web server or something that you can package up on a CD-ROM and give to a customer and that they can install and have this nice unified interface to access all of this related content. Probably the example of this that just about everybody will be familiar with is the Arbortext Help Center. So if you're using Arbortext Editor or various other Arbortext products and you access the help system is actually produced using their own digital media publisher. So when you see this help center that I'm showing on my screen now, this is it's all authored in XML at PTC, and then they publish it using Digital Media Publisher. And so this is an example of the output. So you'll notice you have a content panel over here where you see the topics, and then you have a table of contents, and then there's a search feature too. So if I want to search for the term doc type, I can type it in here, and I get a list of hits of topics that are relevant for the term doc type. So the way this works is that there's a full text search database that is packaged up as part of the DMP package. So when you publish using Digital Media Publisher, part of that publishing process is that it scans through all of your documents, including the external stuff that didn't come out of Arbortext Editor or Publishing Engine. And it indexes this stuff, and it builds this full text search database so that when you want to do a search, it can come back with the results very quickly. So what I want to show you is how you can kind of juice up these search results a little bit. So when you put together a project like this for Digital Media Publisher, you can specify metadata for some of the content. So for example, if you've got some content that's relevant for administrators and other content that's relevant for developers, you can tag each piece of content as to which audience it would be relevant to. And you can see this if you look at the advanced search panel. You can see that there's this drop list where you can choose a user role. There are various document types, and then there are specific Arbortext products. So that's all metadata that's attached to each piece of content that is included in the build of this DMP package. So when you get the search results, what actually happens is you send a request to the underlying engine that drives this thing. The engine that drives it returns an XML document with the relevant data. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So this is what it looks like. If you the search result that comes back, it's a search result document. You can see it's just XML data. And then there's query info, which has information about, what kind of search did you do? Did you have any constraints specified? What was your search term? And so on. And then down here, you've got a list of records, and each record represents one hit, or one topic that showed up as matching whatever your search criteria was. Okay. And then what happens next is when the digital media publisher system gets this data from the search engine, it uses an XSL style sheet to transform that into HTML that it can then display in this panel. Okay, so you do the search, it goes to the search engine, gets XML data, transforms it, and builds this HTML. Now, when it gets interesting is if we go back and look at the search result data, we can see that for each of these records that represents a hit, there's some extra information there. And if we want to, we can take advantage of that, and we can use that to make the search result display a little more informative. Okay, so you can see for this record, there's a score, which is an index of how relevant it is based on the search criteria you did. There's an ID, there's a last modified, which is a date string that tells you when that file was modified. There's a locale and a MIME type that tells you what kind of file it is, so that lets you distinguish between PDF files or HTML files or Word documents and so on. You've got the title, the author, the description. So in the out-of-the-box search, you get the title and the description, okay? And but there are also these attributes, and the attributes here are the things like those metadata that we looked at earlier. So you've got an audience of administrator, an audience of developer for this record. You've got other props, I think, is the type of file, which is PDF, and then you've got a product, which this is related to, which would be, in this case, digital media publisher. So you can, because this is just an XSL style sheet, and this XSL style sheet is just sitting there in the install directory for the Help Center. So let me show you where that is. So if you go into I'm working with a copy here, so I don't mess up my real Help Center. But if you go into your Arbortext installation directory and look at you'll see that right under there's a directory called HC for Help Center. So if you go into that, that's where the Help Center files are. And if you drill down a little bit, if you go into the project folder and then webinf, and then no, I'm sorry, not webinf, into project and then templates, and then frame, and then XSL. This is where the XSL files live that do things like assemble the table of contents, and assemble the search results and some other things here. So the search results, this is the one that we're interested in. So we can look at the default, this is the default style sheet, and it sort of gives a pretty generic set of outputs. So for each record, so this is the template that describes what it's going to look like, for what it's going to display for each record that's a hit in your search. Okay, and so you can see that it's not, what it's doing is it's generating a link with the title text, and then if there's a description, it's going to include the description, and that's pretty much all it's doing here. Okay, so we want to spice this up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a little trick with Acrobat Reader. In Acrobat Reader, if you can put some parameters on the URL query string, and the Acrobat Reader will do stuff with it. So one cool thing you can do with that is you can do what I refer to as pushing the search into the PDF. And what I mean by that is when you do a search in DMP, you'll get a list of hits like this, right? And some of these files will be PDF files. So if I look at this, this is actually a PDF document that was indexed, and it's going to show me where in this PDF file that term popped up. Well, one thing I can do is I can say, well, I searched for doc type here, and that's what gave me this hit. So when I click on this link, I want it to show me a list of all the hits in that PDF document that have the term. And I can do that by making a change to the result.xsl file. So let me show you what that looks like. I did this ahead of time. So what I've done is right here, I have set this up so that I'm getting the search words out of that query info at the top. Okay, and I'm putting together a string with some quotation marks around it so that are URL escapes. So this %22 is the URL escape version of a quotation mark. So I'm taking that and I'm putting that into something that I can then insert into the link. So my link is going to be the path to the topic I'm interested in and some session information, and then I'm going to add this search thing that's going to tell the PDF, the Adobe Reader, all right, I want you to open this document, but then once you've got it open, I want you to execute this search on it. All right, so let's go into that XSL folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this results.old, and then I'm going to take this PDF search one, and I'm going to change that file name so that it is just, actually, I'm not going to change it, but I am going to copy and paste. And then I'm going to change the file name so that it's just result.xsl. So basically what I've done is I've replaced the stock result.xsl file with my own that I've juiced up a little bit. So now, if I go back to this and I go here and I do another search, okay, I can get my results again. But now, if I look at the source of this, let me see. Okay, so now, here's one where now you can see it's actually adding that search parameter to the link for this reference to a PDF file. So now, if I click this, what it's going to do is it's going to load. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. That's an HTML file. So if I click this one, it's going to load the PDF file, but it also is then going to actually push that that search into the document itself. So now you can see that the search is running. I'm not quite sure why it's going so slow. It usually goes faster than that, but it might be something to do with the webinar. But anyway, so it's going through the document now, and it's finding all the instances of the word doc type, and it's going to list them in this window here. So it's going to show me, you know, the one that I clicked on, but it's also going to show me where all the other instances are in the document. So that's actually, I think, a very cool feature. And it really didn't take much to implement that at all. You know, just a few extra lines in the XSL file. Okay, so now it's going through and showing me all the instances. And again, it's going kind of slow, and I think that has to do with the fact that I'm broadcasting this as a webinar, but it's usually much faster than this. Okay, so that's one way that you can juice it up. So let me show you some other ways that you can juice things up. Now, one thing I want to point out here is notice that I didn't have to rebuild my DMP package. I didn't have to rebuild the Help Center, right? All I did was make a change to that one file, and I didn't even have to close it and open it up again. All I had to do was execute a new search, and it picked up that change that I made. So that's a really nice feature. It's a nice way for you to be able to do kind of rapid development with this sort of thing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to say, well, it might be nice to have, so let me go back here for a minute. So some of these links are links to PDF files, and some of them are links to HTML files. And I sometimes get a little bit annoyed if there's a lot of the content in the Help Center is, you can get it either way. You can get the same content as PDF or HTML. Well, the HTML file loads a lot faster than the PDF. So for me, I sometimes get a little annoyed if I click on a link expecting to get an HTML file, and I end up instead having to wait for Adobe Reader to load and to load the PDF file, and so on. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have a little, well, and so if we look at the search results, we see that for each thing, we have this MIME type, so we can tell what kind of file it is. Okay, so why not have a little icon or something that shows you, okay, this head is a PDF file, this one's HTML, this one's a Word file, or whatever. Okay, so let's try that. So if we look at this, we can add, okay, so we've got our link here, we're putting together a string, or our URL with the search words in it, so we've still got that fix, or that enhancement. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this little bit of code here. And we're going to say, so if the MIME type is application/PDF, then we're going to insert this little icon. And if it's text HTML, then we'll insert the HTML icon. Okay? So really pretty simple. It's, 4 lines of code there. So if I go into my XSL and I swap this out, so let me get rid of this, and then I'm going to take this type icon one, and I'm going to use that to replace it. Okay, so I set that up. So now that version is called result.xsl. And now if I go back here and I do my search again, so now you can see there it is. Each element, each hit in the list has a little icon telling me what kind of file it is. So I know if I'm in a hurry and I don't want to wait for the Adobe Reader to load up all of its stuff and to do this enhanced search and stuff, I can know that I should click on this one, which is the quick HTML file, and not this one, which is the slow PDF file. Okay. Or there may be other reasons why you want to choose the PDF versus the HTML. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to maybe have a sense of how recent some of these documents are. So if we look at the search results, you can see that we have this last modified attribute. So we know for each document in the content when the thing was last modified. So let's go ahead and display that. So the format of this is it's a string. It's the first 4 digits of the year, and then you've got the month, and then you've got the day, and then you've got this time index. I think this would be the hours in 24-hour format, and then minutes and seconds. So that's how it tells you when the thing was modified. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a change where we let's see, here we go. So we're going to add this bit here, which is for hits that have a description. We're going to put in brackets when the thing was modified. And so we do that by calling a template. There's another template in here. I guess I should step back a minute and say I'm kind of assuming that you have at least a passing familiarity with XSL style sheets here. If you don't, I apologize. A lot of this is going to be gobbledygook, but it's not that hard to pick up the basics of it enough to make some of these kind of modifications here. There's plenty of material on the web about how to learn this stuff, so you can go out, find some tutorials. There's lots of reference material. You can teach yourself how to do this. So anyway, what we're doing is we've got a template that we're calling that's down at the bottom, and I added this. So this is a template that basically knows how to take that last modified attribute string with all those numbers run together and pull out the little pieces that you want to construct a human readable date. Okay, so what we're doing is we're using that. We're saying for all the hits, go find that date information, format it, and stick it in there. So let's go back to our XSL directory. Let's get rid of this one. Now we're going to take this date one, and that's the one we're going to use. Okay, so now we go back to our Help Center, and we do our search again. And now you can see for each of the documents, it gives you an indication of when that document was last updated. Okay, so that's can be a kind of nice thing. I mean, this one. Okay, so here's where to go. Here's an example of a document that's a little bit older than a lot of the other stuff. So this gives you a sense of kind of the vintage of each of the documents there. So if you find sort of two sources of information, maybe one is newer than another, and so you might want to give that one a greater emphasis. Okay. Oh, someone just came back on. Am I running short on time?
No, I was just thinking, wow, that's really cool.
Okay. So there's one more thing I want to show. And that is that there's a I sort of have one style sheet that combines all of the modifications. So it's got the PDF thing, it's got the type icon, it's got the date, and then there's a few other things that I added, which are I'll go over here. So I added a thing to tell which audiences each hit is relevant for. So you remember each hit has this metadata about audience. So some of them are appropriate for administrators, some are appropriate for developers. This particular topic here happens to be appropriate for either an administrator or a developer, not so much for a user. So if you were filtering based on users, this hit actually wouldn't display. But it might be nice to be able to see in the list of hits, even if you're not filtering explicitly, to see, you know, all right, this is a developer-oriented document, this is an administrator-oriented document, and so on. So that's one thing that I've added to this. I've added a little indicator so that if it's an administrator, you get a little red A, and if it's a developer type thing, then you get a let's see, a green D, and if it's a user type thing, you get a blue U, and that's an indication of whether that's going to be appropriate for which type of audience. I also added one more thing here, which is on the link. I added a tooltip that shows you the title. So by attaching the title attribute on this A element, this anchor, that sets the tooltip so that if you hover the mouse over the thing, you'll see the full text of the thing. And sometimes that can be handy if you've got something with a very long, for instance, this one has kind of a long title, and some of it is kind of cut off over here, and you would have to scroll to see what it is. What that tooltip thing will do is it will let you hover the mouse here and see the whole title without having to scroll. Okay, so let me copy that one over, and let's get rid of that one and take the result all and paste it, and then change it so that it shows up as result.xsl, and then my customized help center will pick it up, and I can do the search again. Okay, and so now you can see, okay, so this topic here is marked as relevant for developers, and this one also for developers. And then as we scroll down, okay, here's one that's relevant for users, and then here's one that's for administrators, and so on. So you can see that they're tagged with the different audiences that they're relevant to. And if I hover my mouse here, okay, so I think what happened here is this document doesn't have a title that DMP could extract when it built the thing, and so that's why it doesn't have. That's why it's got a path here instead of actual title text, and that's also going to cause it to not have a pop-up. But let me see if I can find one that's got a longish title. So if I look at this one and I hover the mouse there, I should see a pop-up. Well, I don't see it. I wonder if this is something to do with the webinar kind of interfering with the way the mouse works or something. But there should be, you know, it should be showing me a pop-up that shows that title. So anyway, it's not working here, but you can see that this part of it is definitely working. So the part where it's showing me which audience it's relevant to. And again, you know, this is just 3 lines of code that I've added to this template. It's pretty basic stuff. If you know anything about XPath here is not complicated. It's just saying, look at, for this record, find the attributes element, and look at and find the attribute that has a name of audience, and then you know, check its value to see if it's administrator. If it is, put the A in there, and so on. So this is, you know, this is not rocket science. This is not hardcore XSL, you know, magic. This is pretty straightforward stuff. So if you have a basic familiarity with XSLT, you should be able to make these kind of changes to the search results. And you know, it lets you add a little more context to the hits and make things more informative. So that's pretty much it.
Wow, simple changes that make a huge difference.
Right.
Very cool. Well, all right. Well, we'll give people a chance to type in their questions. And in the meantime, I will show the list of resources that are available to all Arbortext users, and remind everyone to be sure and come back for the next session. We're going to talk about tying IsoDraw and Windchill together and the kinds of things you can do once you've done it. Here in the Arbortext Monster Garage, car's almost built, so you don't want to miss the final touches. These are the things that we've got available. You can just go to the link at the bottom of the page to have live links to all of this, but there's a ton of resources out there, and Clay is one of the big community members who participates and answers questions for anyone out there looking for answers. All right. Well, I don't see any questions. I think looks like you did a really good job explaining to it, and everyone sort of gets how it works.
Okay, thanks.
That's great. But you always are very good at explaining things that way. We're always glad to get you.
Well, thank you.
Well, so then we'll see everybody next time, and be sure and come back. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.